Old quarter-dollar value. Imagine this for a moment. A simple 5-cent coin from 1997. So common. So ordinary. That millions of people spent it without ever stopping to look twice. Dropped into vending machines. Thrown into spare change jars. Forgotten in drawers and old wallets. But what if I told you that one rare version of the 1997 5-cent coin has quietly become one of the most searched-for modern nickels among collectors? What if I told you that certain 1997 5-cent coins are now being discussed in private collector circles for life-changing amounts of money? No headlines. No public announcements. No warnings. Just a coin that slipped into circulation unnoticed. And decades later, shocked the coin world. And here's the part that makes this story unbelievable. Because this coin was never marked as special, there's a real chance that someone watching this video right now already owns it. Today, on Old Quarter-Dollar Value, we're uncovering the hidden story behind the 1997 5-cent coin. Why collectors are hunting specific variations? What subtle details separate an ordinary nickel from a rare one? And how you can check your own coins before it's too late. This isn't just about coins. This is about awareness. Because history doesn't always hide in museums. Sometimes it hides in your pocket. So don't skip. Don't look away. Because the 5-cent coin you've ignored for years could be the one that changes everything. Welcome to Old Quarter-Dollar Value, where ordinary coins reveal extraordinary stories. The story of the 1997 5-cent coin doesn't come from headlines or auction catalogs. It comes from silence. From years of being overlooked, underestimated, and passed along without question. When these coins were minted in 1997, nothing about them suggested rarity. They entered circulation quietly, mixed among millions of identical nickels, and lived ordinary lives. But years later, something unexpected happened. Collectors began noticing subtle inconsistencies. Coins from the same year that didn't quite match each other. Slight differences in strike quality, small variations in surface texture. Details that were not obvious to the average person, but impossible to ignore once you knew what to look for. At first, the findings were dismissed. Many assumed wear, damage, or coincidence. But as more examples surfaced, a pattern began to emerge. A very small group of 1997 5-cent coins appeared to share the same unusual characteristics. Characteristics that should not have existed under normal minting. Conditions this raised serious questions. Was there a brief moment in 1997 when minting pressure changed? Was a die replaced late? Or used longer than intended? Was a small batch struck during a transition no one documented? The truth is, official records don't give clear answers. And that uncertainty is exactly what fuels the value. Because in the world of rare coins, mystery creates demand. What makes the 1997 5-cent coin especially fascinating is where many of these unusual pieces were found. Not in professional collections, not in sealed rolls, but in everyday places: old jars of change, childhood coin books, inherited collections that were never properly examined. This tells us something important. The rare versions of this coin were never pulled from circulation. They were never identified at the time. They simply blended in and disappeared into ordinary life. That means some of them are still out there right now, possibly sitting in a drawer, possibly forgotten in a box, possibly owned by someone who has no idea what they have. And that's why Old Quarter-Dollar Value continues to tell these stories, not to create hype, but to create awareness. Because the most valuable discoveries don't belong to the loudest voices or the biggest dealers. They belong to the people who pay attention. The 1997 5-cent coin is not valuable because it looks. It's valuable because it is special in ways that only time has revealed. And every year that passes without these coins being found makes the remaining examples even more important. This is not a story about luck. It's a story about curiosity, about looking closer at what others ignore. And as long as even one of these rare 1997 nickels remains undiscovered, the story is not over. It's waiting. Waiting for the moment someone finally stops, looks down, and realizes that the coin they've held for years may be worth far more than anyone ever imagined. As researchers pushed deeper into the mystery of the 1997 5-cent coin, the question stopped being simple and started becoming uncomfortable. Because the more examples experts examined, the clearer it became that this was not random wear and not coincidence. Something had happened. Numismatists began comparing verified specimens, side by side under controlled conditions. Microscopes revealed consistent anomalies, not dramatic errors, but precise irregularities that repeated across multiple coins. The spacing of certain design elements, the depth of specific letters, the way the metal flowed near the rim, these were not things that happened by chance, and that's when the theories began. One leading theory suggests a short-lived die, alignment issue that occurred during a limited production window. In simple terms, a die that should have been replaced was used slightly longer than intended. The result? Coins that appear normal at first glance but show distinctive characteristics when examined closely. Once the issue was corrected, the anomaly disappeared, leaving behind only a small number of coins as evidence. Another theory points toward temporary pressure, variation inside the minting process. During high-speed production, even a brief fluctuation can alter how metal fills the die. Coins struck during this moment would carry subtle but consistent traits that collectors now recognize as markers of rarity. There is also a more controversial idea, one that experts discuss quietly. Some believe the rare 1997 5-cent coins may have been struck during a test or transition phase, when equipment adjustments were being made. These coins were never meant to leave the mint, but a small number slipped into circulation before the process stabilized. No public records, no official acknowledgement, just physical evidence left behind in metal, and that evidence still exists. What makes this case especially compelling is the lack of documentation. The U.S. Mint does not publicly catalog every minor variation, especially those discovered decades later. This creates a gap, and in that gap, rarity thrives. When collectors cannot rely on official confirmation, they rely on patterns, on repetition, on proof found in surviving coins, and the proof is there. Independent experts who have examined multiple examples agree on one thing. These coins share characteristics that do not appear on standard 1997 nickels. That consensus is what drives demand. Not hype, not rumors, evidence. Yet despite all this, the most important fact remains unchanged. Most of these coins were never recovered. They were never flagged, never isolated, never protected. They lived ordinary lives, which means the rarest versions of the 1997 5-cent coin are most likely owned by people who never intended to collect rare coins at all. People who saved change casually. Families who passed down small collections without checking dates closely. Individuals who simply liked to keep coins. That reality changes. Everything, because it means discovery, is still possible, and that is why old quarter-dollar value treats stories like this with seriousness and respect. This isn't about chasing fantasy. It's about understanding how value emerges over time, how history leaves fingerprints, and how patience often rewards those who look closer. As more collectors become aware, the window narrows. Each new verification reduces the number of undiscovered coins. Each confirmed example strengthens the theory, and each passing year increases the importance of those that remain unseen. The mystery of the 1997 5-cent coin is not solved yet. It is still unfolding, and somewhere, right now, one of these coins is waiting not to be spent, but to be understood. And as this story slowly comes to rest, take a moment and really think about what you've just heard. A coin worth only 5 cents on its face. A coin most people never stop to look at. A coin that passed through millions of hands without anyone asking a single question. And yet, time changed everything. The 1997 5-cent coin reminds us of a powerful truth. Value is not always obvious in the moment. Sometimes it takes years, sometimes decades. Sometimes it takes curiosity, patience, and the courage to look closer at what the world tells us is ordinary. Somewhere out there right now, a small nickel is sitting quietly, in a drawer, in a jar of change, in a forgotten envelope, in a family collection passed down without a second thought. It isn't calling attention to itself. It isn't shining brighter than the rest. It's simply waiting for the moment someone finally stops, turns it over, and realizes they may be holding something far more important than they ever imagined. That is why Old Quarter Dollar Value exists. This channel isn't about hype. It's about awareness. It's about helping everyday people understand the hidden stories behind everyday coins. Because history doesn't always live in museums. Sometimes it lives in your pocket. Before you leave this video, do one simple thing. Check your coins again. Look closely at your 1997 5-cent pieces. Pay attention to the small details, because the smallest differences often carry the biggest meaning. If you believe you've found something unusual, or if you've learned something new today, leave a comment below. Your curiosity could inspire someone else to discover their own hidden treasure. And if you want to stay ahead of these stories, if you want to know which coins are quietly rising in importance, if you've